What live?
You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Joe, do you want to know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business.
And we're back.
We are back.
What a motley
Welcome
crew we
back.
are.
Did we ever
And
go?
before we
Did
even
we ever
start,
leave?
David, wait, before we start, David, show everybody the merch. Because, you know,
Oh, the
this
merch.
is very
Let's
exciting.
have that
The
with
merch from Two Old
This is
Farts
the-
Making Noises.
This is the merch. Here we go. There we go.
If you really
All
want,
those
are a fan of
people-
the TOF channel, there
Yeah.
you go. TOF Entertainment channel. You too can wear a hoodie and look as
Yeah.
cool as David. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
help out.
We want that. We do. Well,
Yeah, we
welcome
ordered
back.
you. We ordered John pajamas that looks like that. Well, actually, it's the one with our faces on it, Stephen. So it's
Yes,
like
and
an
Michael's
all-over
got
print
his
of you and
Lost
I.
Dollar Business Club
I've got
mug.
the
And
mug.
look at that.
The
Yeah.
mug.
We're
He's got
merch.
the
Listen, Hanukkah. This is the second. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the second day of
Second day
Hanukkah.
of
So happy
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah to all our Jewish listeners. And if you got to buy a gift for a Gentile, get them this. And for the Jews, we give a special discount. It's just the way it works. You type in WW Jew and you get a big discount. I'm just kidding. They're my people. And listen, to do it this way for the Jewish listeners, if everything's $100. But we're going to discount it to what we sell it to the Gentiles for, so you feel like you're getting a deal. And I think that's a good way to.
You
get
go.
people to buy stuff.
Everyone wins.
Everybody, it's a win-win.
Except
Go
for
ahead,
Gentiles.
It's a
Originally
lose-lose
150,
situation.
but we'll give it to you for 100.
There you go. That's right. So, why should I buy?
Well,
why
I
should I
think-
buy retail?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is it was originally 100, so it's now 120. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's very.
We've got very creative pricing
Anyway.
on the Lost Dollar Business Club and Two Old Farts Entertainment.
Yes, and we will have the link below so everybody can see the merch page, and you can go and the merch page, just so you know, is broken up into each show. Every show has its own merch, and then we have a general category with a lot of artists that we've interviewed. So there's a lot of art, and most of everything is a limited run of about 250 pieces. So you will not see yourself walking down the
Yeah,
street.
There you
yeah,
go.
for the
All right,
artist
limited-
stuff anyway. That's all. All the artist stuff is limited edition. That's it. That's cool. We won't make another one.
That's true.
So
So before we run our
You wanna
first
be
commercial
unique?
today, and we have a really cool 1-minute commercial coming up. That's a cartoon, like
Stay
Bugs Bunny
tuned.
and Roadrunner. Yeah. Let us run Michael's. Before we run it, David, Michael, tell us what we're going to talk about today, so the people listening don't nod off.
That's right. That's right. Dude, let's get them early. So
There you go.
big topics. Antitrust comes back to the forefront. We'll be talking about airline and grocery store consolidation in the United States. Is it good? Is it bad? It's probably bad.
who
Depending on,
cares?
depending on
Who
who you
cares?
are.
Who cares?
Depending on who you are. And then crypto. We'll bring up crypto again because they're actually the banks, the big banks, were talking about crypto among other topics
Yep.
in Congress this week. And J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon once again says he would shut down crypto if he ran the government. Maybe it's a good thing that he doesn't.
Is that after he sold the whole world a whole lot of ETFs or not? I think
Yeah,
it
well,
might just be. Sorry.
It depends. Let's see what he wants to flood the world with.
I got you flood right here. David, take us to break.
Yeah.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club.
All right.
We're back.
And we're back. All right. So, the topic on it, the thing on antitrust is we've talked about this before. The FTC chair, Lena Khan, is actually going after, the attorney generals of California and other states, in addition to the FTC chair, Lena Khan, are going after these big mergers and actually trying at least to prevent them from happening. The question being, if the Kroger and Albertsons, two grocery stores in the United States with thousands of stores each, they want to merge, and if they do it, then you've got 70% of all the food sales of all the food markets sold in the United States would be Walmart, Costco, and this new Kroger's Albertsons entity.
Right.
And everyone's up in arms. Everyone, at least in the antitrust world, is up in arms about it. And because there's studies that say, well, you do that, you're going to lower wages for most of the workers, not just in the Kroger's Albertsons stores, but you'll lower wages, depress wages in all of the areas where they will no longer compete. And it'll increase food deserts. So a big problem in the United States is there are areas that just don't have, I hope none of us are facing that, but there are areas that just don't have enough fresh food, enough good food, where they just don't have grocery stores. And this whole concentration, they're calling it a concentration of grocery stores, has been happening for a while now. Albertson acquired Safeway in 2015, and so this consolidation of the food supply is a big concern, actually, I think, because the prices just keep going up, as you know, through inflation. Prices have just gone up everywhere, but in part it's because of the consolidation where you have fewer competitors on the market. Food inflation has actually gone up more than overall inflation for the past two full years. So it's.
And what is food inflation in the US?
It's somewhere at, well, last year it was over 10%. This year it's at 4% supposedly compared to overall inflation of under 3%. So it's still ahead.
And how much have wages gone up?
How much is wages?
Yeah.
When you say gone up, David, what do you mean by that exactly?
Yeah. Look,
I don't see what I mean.
this
at the
is
end of the
just
day,
par for the course. The FTC, I don't know what the hell they do. These bureaucrats, they just sit and just scratch their backsides and look at papers, and then they say,
sure.
yes, okay, go ahead with the merger. Do a little few divestitures, which are meaningless. The thing is, merger after merger I've been here, 35 years or so, 40 years.
Don't remind us.
Yeah. So, it's been like this for, decades now. They just approve, they keep producing competition. When this, here the US we no longer have free market capitalism. We just have an oligarchy, not an oligarchy, it's an oligopoly. 4 or 5 companies, control all markets. That's not free markets. It's just bullshit.
Well,
it's just it doesn't matter the industry. The same with the beef industry. There's 4 guys. That control the entire market. Even if you're a big farming operation, they just they sell cattle once a week. These guys just wait until the guys need to sell, and they just set the price. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their thinking is.
But if you remember back in the day, this is like 100 years ago. Remember 100 years ago, there was Rockefeller and Standard Oil, they owned everything. Then all of a sudden the Sherman Act comes along and they're like, we have to break you all up. Then there was AT&T, and in the 80s we had Reagan, that we have to break everybody up again, and then we broke all the baby bells, and now they're all back as AT&T. So this is nothing but if you will, a 20 to 30 year cycle. So now we're going to have Walmart, go figure, you got Costco, you're going to have Kroger, and Albertsons. I didn't even know Albertsons was still in business. I don't think they even know they're still in business. But anyway, you have Albertsons and Kroger, and that's what's going to happen. And unfortunately, it's just it's a wave. And then some politician's going to go, no, we can't have it. They'll break them all up again in 20 or 30 years, and 30 years later, they'll do this again.
The issue,
what really cares? Everybody cares. Albertsons.
You honestly say. Are you saying that when
time.
people go into the supermarket with their trolley they're desperately concerned about the fact that it's been merged with something else. No, they couldn't give a monkeys. All they're interested in is, hey, have you got more purchasing power? Is it going to put the price of my groceries down, or are the price of my groceries the same? And that's it. The public doesn't care. Politicians,
I don't know about
the
that.
public
appear to
doesn't care of most stuff. They're a bunch of
Morons.
Stone Age, monkeys.
Well-
That's what I don't know what they are, but
Well, thank you for destroying the whole of our viewing base there, John.
Yeah.
We'd like to
Tune in-
apologize to all the monkeys
Yeah.
at the Bronx Zoo that we know you're watching
Yeah.
on a Saturday morning because you have nothing to do.
Yeah.
We still love
Come
you, but
on.
just to let you know.
For the record,
Tune
our
in next
audience
week.
does
Tune
care.
in next week when John will be nice to somebody else.
Yes,
When the store says, look, hey, we're not earning our margins because the volume is not big and you're a 30,000 person city and they close it down, and now you have a Dollar General that sells you, Franken food, right? That 5 years from now you're gonna get some kind of freaking cancer because you're not eating. You don't even have the potential to eat something healthy.
You've been eating Franken food in the US since the 1970s, and look around you, if you can.
Yeah,
If there's any
look
daylight
around,
between
yeah.
two Americans. If there's any daylight between two Americans, but hey,
Not to worry. Look, it's the same in Europe. Don't give me that stuff.
It is. It is. It's definitely that. It's definitely around the world. And the funny thing is, all I can say is, hey, better not build the wall. You're gonna need those people to run those shops.
just to let you guys know, our presidential candidate guest has arrived. So,
okay.
Mr. Aaron Day will be joining us momentarily.
Yeah.
So before Aaron joins us, David, why don't you run the Euro commercial, and then we'll bring Aaron in.
Run it.
That's good.
Let's see what
Well,
he
this is
thinks on
just like I said to
All right.
everybody. This is it's part of the ethos of the 2OF Entertainment.
He's a Republican or a Democrat?
Hold
this guy?
on a second. Let's just bring him in really quick before we run this show. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. We've started already, so we're going to run a quick commercial, and then we're going to interview you, and you can tell us about your presidential candidacy, and you can tell us all about the central bank and whatnot, and we'll go from there. But we're going to run a quick spot, and we figured we'd introduce you before we run the spot.
Sounds good.
All right, David, take us away, and then we'll come back with Aaron.
Okay, I would just like to say this is part of the 2OF ethos. We're trying to support up-and-coming companies. We ran a promo saying you can have a free ad on the channel, and this is the result of that. So thank you very much for being with us, and here's the advert.
Making the right connections is vital to your business and professional success, but reaching out to strangers is awkward and mostly a waste of time and resources. Imagine a world where AI takes the hassle out of networking. Enter Hero, your noise-free professional network powered by AI. What's so cool about Hero? How about getting your own AI networking assistant that's dedicated to solving your challenges by handpicking connections and opportunities that are right for you? But Hero does more than just meaningful matchmaking. We equip you with a customized storefront accessible to anyone on or off the Hero network to help enhance your brand and boost your revenue, making it easy to turn those meaningful connections into valued customers, all within Hero. Hero is networking as it should be, meaningful conversations with well-meaning people without the noise. Join Hero today and harness the power of strategic AI networking.
Yeah, and just to let you know, I played around in Hero, and it's basically LinkedIn on steroids, and it is like, wow. Because it reads all the conversations and what you talk about with anybody. And if you say, I want to go to the moon, and there's 3 scientists talking about they wish they had somebody who wanted to go to the moon, it'll connect you up. So it's a very cool little, it's very, so it's not, so LinkedIn's becoming Facebook now because Microsoft bought them. This is making like what it should be, like a professional networking network where you can find who you need, what you need, and whatever. So yeah, there you go. I played around with
But
it.
it's not going to tell me where I can get cheap groceries. Then that's not going to.
It will. But Aaron doesn't know that because he wasn't here for the first part of the show. So Aaron, welcome to the show. Aaron is an independent, and then Michael's got the rest of his bio, an independent presidential candidate. We asked Trump and Biden to be here. They didn't want to come. I apologize. We didn't want to waste your time with Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom because the losers. So we figure it's all you. and we can also talk about central banks. So everybody here is versed on both. So Michael, I'll let you start. I'll let you start kicking it off because you're a brainiac. So, and then I'll let John jump in, of course.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's a big topic, digital tyranny, and you put down that you're the author of the Final Countdown too. So why don't you give us that intro, and why the presidential candidacy is so important to bringing awareness to digital tyranny.
Well, I mean, actually, one spoiler alert is I actually dropped out of the race. I suspended my campaign about a week ago. But I'll explain the logic behind that. I was originally running as a Republican, and the reason I was running as a Republican was to attempt to get into the debates. Because the thinking was if I could get in front of a large audience, that would give me the opportunity to actually bring up this issue of central bank digital currencies. That was shut down. I couldn't even get included into the polls. Which is odd because, I mean, I ran for U.S. Senate and I've been polled before. And in this particular instance, I actually reached out to the polling companies and they wouldn't even consider including me in the polls, which I thought was a little bit bizarre. I mean, I've gotten, 3% in a New Hampshire statewide federal election in the past, and New Hampshire is an important state. So nevertheless, as I went through it, I got to the point where being a candidate was confusing with the message. Once the ability to actually be in the debates was off the table, then all of a sudden it's like, well, are you trying to stop CBDCs? Or are you running for president? And the truth is I'm trying to stop CBDCs, and running for president no longer helps in that regard. I have talked to half a dozen other presidential candidates about stopping CBDCs. I've given them my book. I've talked to them. I've actually put together an anti-CBDC pledge. So to a certain degree, I'm trying to get as many candidates as possible in any political party to align with the idea of stopping CBDCs, because I think CBDCs are actually the biggest single threat to human liberty.
Okay, wait. Tell everybody what a CBDC is, because you're going to have people that are going to be glazing over right now. So let them know what that is, and then you can go back to using the short version.
I was just going to ask that question because.
A CBDC is a central bank digital currency, it's basically a digital form of money that can be programmed, censored, and monitored by the government. So basically look at it as the ability for the government to completely surveil all of your financial transactions, to decide whether or not, if they don't like what you're buying, or to even prevent you from being able to buy certain things to begin with. If you know how a health savings account works, these usually debit cards. You can only use those debit cards for pre-approved medical expenses. Well, imagine if the government could define the list of things that you could buy, and if it's not on that list, you just can't buy it to begin with.
Right.
And it also gives them the ability to censor you if they don't like your actions or your activities, or your speech. Then they can actually cut off your money. They've even built in things to make sure that people are spending by actually, if you keep too much money in your bank account, they can actually just claw it back. Wow. And these are all things that have been designed and put into other CBDCs that are rolling out across.
Aren't there over 100 CBDCs being considered across the world?
There are 130 now. And what's fascinating about this is in 2020, there were 24 CBDCs that were just being examined. Now it's 130 countries, all of the G7. Within a few months, there will be over 1 billion people on this planet on CBDCs. China has already implemented CBDCs to 261 million people, and it's going to be rolled out to the rest of the country. I think there's something like 14 other countries that already have CBDC. So it's absolutely coming. And the thing is, my background is I've been a liberty activist for a long time. I've also gotten involved. I got involved in crypto in 2012. That's when I first got into Bitcoin. And
which Jamie Dimon, the big banker, is totally against. And they were just getting a lot of press with Senator Warren about that just the other day, right?
They were. So part of what's going on is, a couple of things. One, President Biden has signed Executive Order 14067, which authorizes the United States to explore a CBDC and also allows for a whole of government crackdown on cryptocurrency. So this is something that he put in place last year, and it's been ongoing. And this is part of what motivated me to do this. I got involved in crypto in 2012. I exited political activism in 2018 and was going to focus solely on cryptocurrency, not just cryptocurrency as being a substitute for cash, but there are a lot of other interesting things that you can do with blockchain technology. Blockchain technology basically allows you to get rid of third-party intermediaries when you're doing commerce. So you can use the same technology behind Bitcoin to do land titles, so that you could actually, instead of having to go through this process of, when you go to buy a house, you have to buy title insurance, you go through all this other stuff, that could be on the blockchain. The stock market could be on the blockchain. Voting could be on the blockchain. There's a whole series of things that you could do with the underlying technology. Then COVID happened, and we all experienced the massive COVID tyranny. And then I had two things happen. I live in New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project, which is a movement to get 20,000 pro-liberty people to kind of concentrate in one state. And two people that I know in the Free State Project were directly impacted by this crackdown on crypto. The person who introduced me to cryptocurrency is a guy named Ian Freeman. And I went to his sentencing hearing a few months ago. He is now spending 8 years in federal prison for selling Bitcoin. And there's more to the story than that. But I mean, essentially, he got an opinion letter from a lawyer telling him it was legitimate to do this. The laws were kind of vague, but he put together laws for selling Bitcoin. He had ATMs and everything. And he was the target of a multi-year investigation. 5 federal departments came in. They had a Bearcat. They broke into his house, seized all of his stuff. I mean, he was targeted because he's a liberty activist who had a radio show. Still has a radio show called Free Talk Live. For 20 years, he's been promoting liberty, and they targeted him. Another friend of mine, Jeremy Kaufman, is the CEO of a company called Library, or you may also know as Odyssey, which is it's a platform for videos that is censorship resistant. Is basically the pitch. It's basically YouTube without the censors. And the SEC targeted him and destroyed his company. So they basically put him out of business after a 5-year stint. So I looked at this and I said, well, I already gave up on the political system. I thought crypto was the way. And then all of a sudden, people I know who are liberty activists are being thrown in jail and having their businesses taken away. So that prompted me to start researching, well, why are they doing that? What was behind the COVID tyranny? What's going on here? And there's this move towards a kind of a one world centralized government, and that explains part of the COVID.
But they've started that since 1958, when the Nazis basically came up with the EU. So we've had a one world government since the 60s. So that's nothing new. So that's not like, oh, there's a one. They've been doing that forever. So that's not a new thing.
Well, they've been
Aaron,
doing it.
Aaron, can I just ask you a question? You made quite a sweeping statement. The COVID tyranny. Yep. What's all that about? What's COVID tyranny? Is that the tyranny of the disease where we got it, or something else? How do you define that?
Well, I would define COVID tyranny as the fact that public health funded the creation of the virus, then funded the vaccine, which was a disaster.
How did public health fund the vaccine?
Well, the U.S. funded it through bioweapons programs with China. That's where COVID come from. This didn't come from a bat. This wasn't a random event. This isn't something that just happened. There's been a 2-decade-long established relationship between the United States government and the Chinese government for bioweapons research. And this actually plays in a lot to this idea of that we're moving towards a one world government, because if you listen to most politicians, they'll tell you China is the enemy. Well, you don't spend 20 years working on bioweapons research with your enemy. They're actually the test case for a lot of what I'm talking about with central bank digital currencies, which is actually the gateway to then social credit systems and vaccine passports and digital IDs. China is the test case for this. And so that's what I mean by the COVID tyranny and the lockdown policies and everything else, which were also, kind of unheard of in U.S. history.
So tell us about the final countdown. I mean, give us the background on that and what the premise is for that.
Well, so the premise. So when I saw my friends, get businesses destroyed and going to prison, I started to do some research into this, and I wasn't aware at the beginning of this year just how advanced CBDCs were, even in the United States. So I wrote the book to be a warning, to kind of explain what a one world government tyranny looks like, because you can look at China as a test case. They have CBDCs, they have social credit scores, and in the first part of the book, I give this dystopian, fictionalized account of what the world might look like in the future if this digital tyranny takes place. Then I in the second chapter, I lay out the fact that everything in this dystopian version already exists in the world today in a developed nation in terms of the surveillance state, the technology, and the intent to use it. And then I walk through the history of kind of this movement towards a one world government, where it comes from, who's behind it, what the plan is for it. And then, because it's important to know that this is, most people don't know this is going on. I mean, you say 1958, the technology.
Well, have you, Aaron? Have you found out? Have you found out then who is behind it? Because you said you're covering that in your book. So are you going to reveal to us who is behind this one world government?
There are a series of institutions, such as the Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg Group, and others that.
These are all US based. You're talking about now, or not?
Not Bilderberg, and like the Illuminati and Bilderberg have been around forever, so to speak. If they're real, nobody knows, kind of, sort of. But if they are, they're global. They're not just US centric. They're global members. They go to Davos, and at Davos, when we go there, we talk about how we're going to destroy all of you. Oh, I'm sorry. Them and the lizard people. That's how we do it. So just so you know,
the groups aren't. They may be based in the U.S., but for instance, the Trilateral Commission, the Tri stands for North America, Europe, and Asia. So if I actually have the list of the Trilateral Commission members, there's a guy named Patrick Wood who's been researching this whole technocracy thing. He's written several books about it over the last 50 years. He actually gave me the whole list. And so it's a balanced list of the 480 or something people. A little more than a third are in the US, and then a third in Asia, and a third in China. So in essence, what the Trilateral Commission did was, their whole strategy has been, they've infiltrated governments in North America, Europe, and China, and then have pushed from the top down policies within countries across the globe, moving towards this one world technocracy.
Is that what's the relation to the World Economic Forum? Because everyone hears about the WEF and Klaus Schwab, and and also how he's even said that he's gotten people in parliament and various governments. So is that related?
They're part of it, but the Trilateral Commission is even kind of a precursor to all of that. And the Trilateral Commission tends to run behind the scenes. To give you an example, Jimmy Carter's cabinet, every member of Jimmy Carter's cabinet except one was a Trilateral Commission member. The Trilateral Commission has had people in every presidential candidate since Carter, and they're highly influential in terms of this. But then Klaus Schwab is part of it as well. So you have kind of the groups behind the scenes, and then you have the World Bank, the UN, the IMF, the Bank of International Settlements, and the UN. Those are the public-facing organizations that are pushing this. But I mean, if you look at the WEF partner companies, there are over 1,000 partner companies. Just the top 10 have a combined market cap of $9 trillion. They have like 6.8 million employees. They have $1.5 trillion of cash on hand. So it's not just the UN. The UN's a front for it, but what's pushing it is a significant amount of people and a lot of money. But if you look at the UN, the WEF, the WHO, et cetera, they have a combined budget of $35 billion and 45,000 employees working full time on the public facing part of this strategy. And it's all embodied in the UN Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. If you look at that, I mean, they're telling us, it's not like none of this is secret. None of these are conspiracy theories anymore. There are websites you can go to. You can view what Klaus Schwab says. You can view what the UN says. You can view all of their documents, all of their materials, all of their agendas, all their timelines on their websites. So there's no real mystery to this.
But Aaron, part of that is people are sheep and they're stupid. No one's reading. Like we talk about this all the time in the show. Like we all read The Economist, the Financial Times, and whatnot. So we actually have maybe a clue. Most people don't do that. They watch TikTok and they watch Instagram. So they're not reading, and they don't. Most of them think Bilderberg or the Illuminati or trilateral is all a bunch of make-believe stuff that's great for movies. So nobody reads history anymore, so they have no clue of how this has all come about. Even if they read your book, they'll be like, oh, it's cute. They'll think it's a fiction. So that's part of the bigger issue. The other question I then have for you, putting COVID aside and all that other things and whatever we do with China, because China is John's favorite country. What do we think about Trump then? Is Trump then a puppet for them? And the reason I ask that is because he tried to overthrow the government on January 6th. The question then is that what they wanted? Because then they could go, you have an authoritarian now. So in the 2024 election, let's assume he wins. Does that just put it over the top? Because between the Republicans and the Democrats, there is no competent candidate. So how does that look then for their world domination program?
Their plan's great either way. I don't see, and I mean, it's odd as a president. I'm just saying this as a presidential candidate. America 1.0 is dead. This election, there are no good choices. I actually think it could end up being worse. It could be Nikki Haley versus Gavin Newsom, which are both WEF young fellows or whatever, they're young leaders and are directly
young global leaders,
global leaders and directly involved with these organizations. I think that's the backup plan. But Trump doesn't. I've never seen a bigger cult than the Trump followers. Like I don't even understand this. Like we went through this. So COVID happened under your watch. You added $7.7 trillion to the debt, more than any president in one term. All of this bad stuff happened, and then I'll have people say, "But it's trust the plan. He's playing 5D chess." At what point? Like he was just surrounded by bad people. Like how many excuses can you make? I'm baffled by it. So, but I think he's done more to accelerate this globalist plan than anyone. Whether intentional or not, I think that truly he destroyed the dollar, because that's a big part of my book. The big part of my book is you stop CBDCs by people exiting the dollar and moving into crypto, gold, and silver, and starting to use that as a substitute for money on a day-to-day basis, because it's fiat currency that's going to get turned into CBDC, and that's the way that you cut that off. Well, Trump accelerated that.
So if I'm, in America, let's just say we have 100 billionaires. I know there's a little more. So what are they, this government's going to go to like a Jeff Bezos or a Bill Gates or go, listen, and we know you got like $17 trillion. So they're going to be like, we're going to make a deal with you, or there's just going to be, now the government's like, it's almost like you're all equal now. It's the Minority Report, done. So how's that going to play itself out to the people that actually have, well, whatever they do to Elon Musk, I don't care. But the rest of the guys I may actually like. So how does that work out?
Well, it's going to turn into sort of corporate fascism. So, I mean, if you look at the WEF, you look at the UN, part of this at the end of this is a one world government, but it's dominated by a small number of large multinational corporations. So, and by the way, when I say this, I don't think the one world government thing works. I think that as they push towards that, there's going to be infighting amongst themselves, and they're going to tear each other apart, because whereas right now it sounds great, they're sitting there saying, here's how we're going to carve up the world. Ultimately, the individuals involved are going to want more and more power.
That didn't work in 1929 when they did the Middle East. So we'll assume that they can't do a bigger plan. So that's not going to work for them, I don't think either. But
I think that's the way that it's going to be.
That's what they're looking at.
And that's already what's happened. I mean, if you look at what happened with COVID, look at what happened to small business versus large business. Look at how much Amazon grew. Look at how much, some of the companies that can comply.
Small businesses got trounced.
Small businesses got trounced. This is part of the plan. This is part of the consolidation towards, because if you look at the UN Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals, a lot of what those goals put in place are regulations that small businesses can't afford to comply with. So it just further consolidates towards more and more and larger multinational corporations.
Right. You were the CEO, I guess, at some point of the Atlas Society.
Yep.
Yeah. So do you find that's Ayn Rand's objectivism group, I suppose?
Yeah.
So can you tell us, I know that you're not CEO of that anymore, but can you tell us how that effort has woven into your life story? And do you think that the Atlas Society and organizations like it are the glimmer of hope in this tyrannical onslaught?
I mean, I kind of went through more of a kind of a spiritual awakening in 2019. So I wouldn't call myself an objectivist at this point at all. I mean, I like some of the philosophy as it applies to certain things, but I think a lot of it I don't agree with at this point. I don't.
A spiritual awakening. Okay.
So not to. So I think those organizations are. I don't know that that's necessarily going to be where the glimmer is going to be. I think it's tough to push. I'm not seeing a lot of Randian influence now. Part of when I was running it was we were trying to introduce the ideas of Rand and Atlas Shrugged at the college level, and that was 2013 timeframe. So that was 10 years ago, and already the big disconnect in college. It was almost impossible to get college students to engage with the material. I mean, at all. I mean, and the colleges have gotten, they're even more woke now. But even when you read Rand, her stuff is kind of dated, so it's actually hard for people to kind of get there. It's like, oh, you're reading a book about trains. You're reading a book about it's like it's more of a like this industrial thing is not quite as accessible to kids. So I don't know if that's where I don't know if that's where this is going to come from. I don't know where it's going to come from. I mean, at this point, I look at it as, I just want to stop. I just want to stay of execution against this, plan for globalization, and the money is the way to stop it in the short term. It's not a solution. It's not a utopian solution. It just stops them from putting in place completely controllable digital money that will then be used to control all of our other behavior through social credit systems. We still have to figure out what to do, even if we can stop that, because America is just absolutely disintegrating as it is.
But do you think people in America, I mean, we're not China, right? So people didn't grow up under Mao. They didn't grow up under Deng Xiaoping. They didn't grow up under Xi, who's there now. They didn't grow up under that authoritarian. Everybody here thinks they have a perceived freedom. So do you think tomorrow, if the government says, hey, you're going to have social credit, you're going to have this, I know this woke mamby-pamby bullshit, that's like we're heading to that point. But do you really think that the America public, the 300 million people as a whole, are going to be like, oh, that's great, let's have social credit? Or have we gotten such a pussification of our country that people are going to like, oh, that's great, so we know who's good and who's bad, like Santa's list?
Well, we already have credit scores in one.
But they've had credit scores for forever. So that's stuff that's already here. We're not going to talk credit scores like me saying we've had a car. Okay, it's been around 100. Nobody cares. I'm talking about what China's doing with their social credit. That's much different than a credit score, right? Because are you a good person? Do you pay your bill? Did you jaywalk? You didn't jaywalk? Did you speed? That's more encompassing. So my question then is, credit scores nothing. Your social scores in China now, how you get everything. So do you think America as a whole, or North America, because Kurt's from Canada, they don't really count. Do you think that is going to be like, if they wanted to implement that in North America, people are going to be like, oh, that's great. We're going to know who's naughty and nice, like Santa's list, I guess is what my question is.
I would have thought 3 years ago that we wouldn't, but after what happened with COVID, I mean, after the fact that people were locked down in their houses, people were in some cases, forced to take vaccines, businesses were shut down. I never thought that would have happened. And by the way, it's not like we haven't had pandemics before. There was a pandemic during Woodstock. Nobody even talks about it or even knows it. We didn't lock down. We never did this level of lockdowns. I think based on the compliance that we saw in 2020, I don't think it's a big step. If they could get people to take a vaccine for an order of fries, look, when they roll out Central Bank Digital Currency, they're presenting it as this is about financial inclusion. And the way they're going to roll it out is we need this to stop terrorism in the Middle East from spreading over here. So we need to control the money to stop money laundering and to stop.
Oh, that was the Patriot Act after they ran into the towers. They did all that crap back then. They're just you're enhancing it now, is what you're saying.
This is multi-level, though. This is multi-layered because, back in the time of Woodstock, we didn't have the movement of people at the speed and the volume that we have it now. So the ability to move a virus from Beijing or from Ottawa to Amsterdam is hours. Back then it would have taken a lot longer because a lot fewer people were traveling. It's not I'm not poo-pooing the idea, but I think there was a logic to it that made sense to a lot of people when they were coming up with vaccines. It's just the sheer ferocity that that virus would spread would be much different now than it would have been at any other time in history.
Well, but it was manufactured, and the whole thing was not what anybody. Public health should. I always say boycott and defund public health. It's a death cult.
Whether it was manufactured or it came from my garbage can would make no difference to me if I had no control over it. And the 99.9% of people on the planet had zero control over what was going on around them, other than to protect yourself. Now, whether somebody would come up to me and say, well, you know what, that's a whole conspiracy, now I can prove it. Okay, that's a different conversation. But if we're talking about the virus and one protecting or not protecting oneself from it, that's just pure logic that I think every human being should have employed. I don't understand the people who say, well, screw it, we'll see. That to me is completely asinine. In a world where we don't live with a United States, Canada over here, Europe over there. No, it's a very global world where we're traveling at light speed from one end of the globe to the other. It's a different world.
I think I would argue, and Jeffrey Tucker's written some good books about this, and the Brownstein Institute has written about this as well, where the opposite is true. I think that ultimately, with things like these pandemics, ultimately it's natural immunity that kicks in, and it's the global travel that will actually accelerate people the actual and achieve
global immunity means an acceptance by us all that X percentage of the population will die around you. That's what
is that a bad thing though?
Nobody wants to talk about,
which is all great as long as 2/3 of us don't mind leaving. I'm fine with that as long as I'm not among them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, in the past when this happened, people used common sense and didn't need laws to figure out if you're elderly and there's a disease going around the community, you stay home. You don't need a global surveillance system
to do
or forced vaccines historically to tell people what is common sense. If you are elderly, if you're at risk, stay
That's
home.
assuming there's still common sense, though.
That's a big assumption. I don't know if you read the paper or watched television lately, but no one has common sense, and people are sheep and they're idiots. Full stop.
We're gearing up toward the end of the show, but I want to go back to the CBDC and Tom Emmer, a House Republican, introduced the Anti-Surveillance State Act, the CBDC. So what do you think of that?
None of it's going to pass. I was just speaking at a blockchain conference in Dallas 2 weeks ago. I spoke with Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Cynthia Loomis, Warren Davidson. I talked to a bunch of these people. Ted Cruz wrote the anti-CBDC bill in the U.S. Senate. It's dead. There aren't enough votes in Congress. Out of the 535 people there, most do not understand the technology, and most will be persuaded by, I believe, the terrorism and fear-based approach of money laundering to usher it in quickly. And it'll probably get bipartisan support. Just like with the Patriot Act, just like with TARP. The Patriot Act, I think, was passed 1 week and 4 days or something after 9/11. TARP was passed 2 weeks after Lehman Brothers failed, and the CARES Act was passed just 16 days after COVID was declared a pandemic. $2.2 trillion worth of spending with all kinds of surveillance state stuff that nobody read, originally passed on a voice vote. So do I think we're going to stop it? Best is for people to convince me, justify to me, or explain to me how it could be stopped based on some of the people that voted for the Patriot Act and TARP are still in Congress.
Right.
I did an analysis of that. So when Emmer and these other people put up these bills, it sounds great. There's a 0% chance it's going to happen this legislative session.
But aren't those the kinds of legislators and people that you want to band together with and support? I mean, the fact that they're even talking about it at that level, doesn't that mean that that's where you would focus your energy and expand that kind of effort?
I do, except that, when I've talked to them and I've talked to presidential candidates like Vivek and who's read my book and others, I'm more for going directly to the people. Because even somebody like Emmer I think Emmer got money from FTX. Emmer's the actual understanding.
Well, everybody got money from FTX. So.
But even some of the legislation he's drafted. The problem is every time they draft these legislations, whatever the name of the bill is usually the opposite of the meaning. So it's usually it's this bill, but it means I'm supporting this small list of people that are giving me money to the exclusion of whatever the market could be that they're trying to, not regulate, right?
So what's the final note to the people?
What do you want to tell the people? I mean, let me preface it with two things. One, you are more than welcome to come back. So anytime you want to come back,
yes,
it's a fascinating subject. We'd love to have you. But for your final X that you want to say to the peoples that are listening, because we have a global audience, what do you want to say to them, or what they should look at, other than buy your book, because that's a given. But other than that, what should they look for?
Well, what they should look for, and so I'm in Indiana right now. I'm in a hotel room. I've been in 25 states in the last few months,
right?
Trying to educate people on this topic. And what I've realized is, and I didn't say this, the U.S. has already done 3 successful CBDC pilots. The technology is sitting on the shelf. It could be rolled out in an emergency under a week, and it is the gateway to complete digital tyranny. It's the gateway to social credit systems. It's the great gateway to everything else. The way we stop it is by exiting the dollar and moving into self-custody, crypto, gold, and silver that we have in our own possession, not through third parties, and start using it for transactions. And at the beginning of the year, I'm going to start doing 4-hour workshops across the country based on the book. But at the end of the workshop, people are actually going to have gold, crypto, and silver in their physical possession. Because the biggest challenge that I've had, I put out the book, people like the book, but they're still afraid to take that first step. So I'm going to guide people through it. I'm going to do workshops, and then ultimately I'm going to turn that into an online workshop that anybody can access. But I need to work out the kinks, working with people directly, getting the feedback, and refining the message. So that's my plan.
All right. Well, we look forward to having you sometime in 2024 and telling us how things are going. Yeah. Unless, of course, the government enacts all this, and with your social credit score, let's assume that we'll be visiting you in Leavenworth, but we'll still like you, and it'll be fine. But yeah, I think it's fascinating. It's a different hypothesis than we've heard, and we like that, and we always like different things. So I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, Aaron, I hope very much you come back, because I've got so many questions for you, and I was a bit disturbed that you said that you've been in so many different places. I hope you're not actually on the run at the moment. But
no, not on the run. So,
Aaron, thank you so much. We'll talk with you soon. Cheers.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Well, that was interesting.
The thing is, what he brings up is, everybody thinks we live in a democracy. When a government stops you from choosing how do you store your wealth,
right,
you really understand that you're not no longer in a democracy.
Well, that was China. That's China and Russia right now. In New York, as you know, John.
Oh my God.
Well, as you know, people in New York that come from overseas are just buying like floors of condos, and we just call it safety deposit boxes. And the South Americans are coming up and doing the same in Miami. So what he's saying isn't so far-fetched, but what he is saying is far-fetched. No government, and I hate to break it to him, and I didn't want to say it because, that would be a 5-hour show. No government is going to let you use Bitcoin or any crypto algorithm at all. It's a cute little toy for now. At some point, they're going to be like, enough's enough. And they're going to that path, right? Every government now is going, no, look at Binance. They just got in trouble. They're getting shut down. FTX, I think, was the straw that broke the camel's back. So I'm not so sure that the governments are going to let you use crypto algorithms as a currency among their own. Plus, granted, our currency is backed by nothing except our government, like any other currency. But crypto's backed by really nothing, just ones and zeros, like make believe. And we're already in a digital. We may not be as a CBDC, but we are pretty much there. The governments already do everything digitally. If you ask how many people, like when I travel, I travel with a couple $100 in my pocket. But when I travel, I have my credit card. And what is that? That's digital currency. Who monitors that? The government. Yeah, it's
a different digital infrastructure, though.
No, it's not. And here's why. There's a couple in New York. There was an article in the New York Times and the Financial Times and the Economist. Why they're not sponsoring, so we don't know. But there was a company that did a $4 billion Bitcoin scam, and between the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, and a whole bunch of other government agencies, not only could they find it and track it, but they took it back. So when people say you can't track Bitcoin, that is wrong.
That's why I keep telling you guys, Monero. If you want digital private currency, it's Monero all the way.
Was that
and nobody knows
tracking is
well, I think
tracking is built into the system. The blockchain is public.
Yeah.
We all know that.
That's exactly what the blockchain. It's what the blockchain's about. I think the most disturbing thing from the whole conversation that we're having, a very interesting guy. Very much hope he comes back, but it just seems to be that everybody he knows is in jail. So I don't know if they're all collectively doing something wrong, or they're all.
When you challenge the system, you're going to be put in jail.
You're going to be put in jail.
That.
Okay,
You don't. Here's the thing.
I'm glad I don't live in
challenge-
America then.
No, that's anywhere, David. You don't challenge. You don't challenge your sugar daddy, because then he gets rid of you.
Yeah.
So whether it's China, whether it's Russia, the Ukraine, the United States, even Canada, even though you got 6 people there, it's just the way it works, and that's the world.
Because at the end of the day,
we only trade in pine cones, so you can't.
Right. So for them, it's easy. It's maple syrup and pine cones. They don't care. They're good. So.
And moose poo.
All right, boys and girls, should we go to Lost Dollar? Right? Do we have our Lost John? Wait, John, do you have a Lost Dollar today?
I have a fantastic one.
Okay, as long as John has one, then we can go to Lost Dollar. All right, let's go to Lost Dollar, everybody.
Let's go.
Welcome to this week's Lost and Found, uncovering dollar winners and losers, where we discuss dollars lost and dollars gained by various companies and projects.
And we're back. All right. Since John has a Lost Dollar, I am buckled in. We'll go John, Kurt, then we'll go to Michael, myself, and then, of course, we're going to go to the cow farted and save the planet guy. And here we go. John, tell us what you got.
So the sheriff of Pinal County in Arizona, Mr. Lamb, has revealed that he has been talking to Border Patrol personnel, and he has been told that when you cross the border illegally, like the 2.3 million people have done this year, thank you,
how John got here,
pathetic Biden, you're welcomed with a $5,000 in cash gift card, cell phone, and phone. Plane tickets. $5,000. You and me, suckers that we're paying taxes, are funding all this shit, right? So talk about a dollar. No, you won $5,000. You just broke into the U.S. Woohoo!
Well, so everybody listening outside the United States, that's a lost. That's a found dollar if you're breaking into the United States. So everybody that lives outside the United States, feel free to go to Tijuana and come on in. So there you go.
Yeah, come on in.
I'm the poster boy for American tourists.
Welcome you with the $5,000, a Visa, Visa card, and cell phone and tickets. It's just go to Vegas and maybe you'll make some extra money. Yeah,
nice.
I mean, I feel like I should go across the border and come back. I mean, I don't know.
Again, can we go across the border and come back and pick up the $5,000, or does it count because we're American?
I think so.
But this is called immigration monopoly, isn't it?
I like this.
Yeah.
Next week, John and I and Michael are going to take a trip down to Mexico, and we're going to cross the border. We'll let you know how it works. So
we just go back and forth.
I was going to say, you just do it a few times a week, and it's like that's your job.
That'll make my money for the week.
It's like winning the lottery, right?
Yeah, it's like better than the lottery. It's probably tax free. Kurt, what do you have for us that's interesting today?
I've got a found dollar. The University of Alberta has spawned a Canadian tech startup called Drug Bank. And it's a spin-out that uses AI to make sense of data in medicine. And they just got a $9 million seed.
Nice. Congratulations to them. Very nice.
AI in medicine. I mean, we've said it before. That's where the big changes are going to happen. AI is going to solve a lot.
I'm waiting for HAL 9000 again, guys. As soon as HAL gets here, I'm a happy guy. So there you go. Michael, what do you have that's interesting?
So we've got already been deported.
He'll be back with $5,000.
He'll be back with $5,000 in a cell phone. Go ahead.
We've got a huge found dollar, at least for McDonald's and maybe for all of us who like interesting drinks. Right. McDonald's has a new Cosmix. It's called Cosmix Restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a purely beverage-focused restaurant that they just started in Chicago, or in Illinois. I'm sorry. The first location is in Illinois.
That's in
And
Chicago, Illinois, by the way.
Bolingbrook, Illinois.
Yeah.
Illinois. I guess that's near Chicago. And yeah, they've got all kinds of drinks, all kinds of tropical slushy punch drinks, brews, coffees. And then they've got a special. They don't sell burgers there, but they've got special sandwiches like a spicy queso sandwich. They have pretzel bites, cookies.
Nice.
Of course, their famous twist ice cream cone.
Very nice. Very good. I like that.
To see another huge, huge spinoff from McDonald's.
There you go. Well, another $1 trillion they won't know what to do with. I have, since you were talking about crypto, just to let everybody know that the Asian markets are fueling the crypto resurgence. And the Asian markets alone have helped crypto, specifically Bitcoin, get up 16% or more than 160% than 20 months ago, because they like their whatever, because they know the end of the world is coming. Because we invite them to we invite them to the rich people conference where we tell them we're going to come kill you. So you got to get your gold.
We've got a few years though, right, Stephen? We've got a few years.
Listen, me and the lizard people are discussing it with the Illuminati. When it's bad, you'll know. And there'll be a lizard person here with me, and he'll just tell you we're taking over the world.
Trilateral.
It's really funny. I liked what Aaron was saying. I've read books on all of this. There's a book that was written in the 1960s. It's called None Dare Call It a Conspiracy. It's all about the Illuminati and the Burgermeisters and whatever, but goes back to their lineage, which is hundreds of years ago.
Yes.
So some of the stuff he says is spot on. Some of it not so much. Like I said, it's good that crypto is up for the people that are in it. I still am a firm believer that at some point the banks and the businesses and the Jamie Dimons of the world are going to go boom, which is what they're starting to do. So I don't know if I want to bet the farm on it right now, but if you're in it and you're making money and you can get out, I'm like, there's nothing better than that. So I think it's a found dollar in that space for now. We'll see what happens in 6 months. So, okay, everybody that's listening, that knows the show, David's going to be on holiday next week. So I'm sure this is going to be a doozy. So buckle in. I don't know what farm animal is saving what planet this time. All right, David, what do you got?
Mm-hmm. No, I thought we actually needed a little bit of comedy in the show.
John.
And I had a good chuckle because I'll start off by doing this.
Okay.
Because it's most definitely a lost dollar, and it happens to be a lost dollar for a certain South African / American billionaire, because he's been having he's been having a bit of a do with the Swedish people in his car factory.
Big article in the Financial Times about the lady that's taking him on.
Yeah, and of course, what's happened is now, of course, you take on one scam, you take on all of them. So he thought he was very clever. He thought, I'll get all this because they said we're not doing any of this Tesla business. So they said, all right, well, we'll import it all through Denmark, and then we'll drive the cars up into Sweden. Break the strike. Who cares? But of course, these are Scandies. These are all Vikings. And what's happened now is that the Danish dock workers have told him to stick it up his proverbial, because they're not taking any of his cars off. They're not moving anything off of the Danish ports. They're 100% behind their Swedish brothers, I suppose.
Wow.
So
and the girl who's fighting them, by the way, is a girl, not a brother. So it's the Swedish sister.
Yeah. Okay. The Swedish sister. Well, they're all Vikings. And Mr. Musk's only remarks about the strike was, it's insane. So, yeah.
Okay. So
I'm happy to say it's very much for Mr. Musk. And I know it's not the normal jovial stuff, but it made me laugh.
Can I tell you, I read the article last week in the Financial Times. It was on Saturday last week, the Financial Times. I can't remember her name, but she is not the prime minister, but one of the ministers, and she took on Tesla. And I read the article, and I looked up at myself, and like this, every other paragraph, I just kept smiling and smiling and smiling, and I was like, I'm a sadist, and I like it. So, Elon, I'm really sorry for you. Of course,
to be balanced, Mr. Musk, as ever, is more than welcome to come onto the show.
Oh,
and
yes.
tell us why
He doesn't have the balls to show up on our show because he knows he's a pansy from South Africa, and that's why he doesn't want to come on the show. Because we'd have Roll come on the show with this group, he couldn't handle it. We're not going to stroke his little ego like Bill Maher does, and everybody that goes on the show and they kiss his ass and tell him how wonderful.
You think Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan smokes pot with him on the show live, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to be his buddies. We're going to talk real business, and he'll pontificate a bunch of crap, and that's why he doesn't want to come on the show because we're not kissing his ass. So he have to kiss our ass. Sorry, Elon. You want to come on our show? Have your people call our people, and we'll discuss it. So there you go.
All I can say is, Stephen, is don't mince your words. But there you go.
Never does. He never does.
I'm shy, David.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Mr. Musk, come on the show and put Stephen in his place. What can I say?
That would be awesome.
That's controversial. That's controversial.
Well, Elon, if you want to come on the show, all kidding aside, we'd love to have you, but we know you're a pussy and you won't. Anyway, so everybody, all our Gentile friends, your make-believe holiday's a few weeks away. For all the Jews, happy Hanukkah. Saturday morning, this is your second day of Hanukkah, so enjoy it. Enjoy your families, enjoy your gifts, play with your dreidel, eat a cookie. And for the Gentiles, your make-believe one will come up shortly, and we'll wish you a happy make-believe holiday. New Year's coming up for the Gentiles. My people, we've already had it. And we really would just like to wish everybody kind of peace on earth. There you go.
Wow. Peace on earth. Good message. That's a found out. All right.
Although it would seem that there's a lot of people on this planet who keep buying up pieces of earth, but that's something completely different.
Yes, we do. And as soon as we can get over to where you are, David, we're going to take that whole thing, the whole country. We're doing that next.
And on that note,
see you guys next Saturday.
Welcome to this week's Lost and Found, uncovering dollar winners and losers.
You Dave, got to play the ending, Dave. Do you learn how to play the ending? Dave doesn't know.